Welcome into the official. We got a great show for you this week, as usual. So we wrapped up last week. We had a back-to-back 2024 sleeper show where we focused it on only 3 stars who we thought you will rise, have good opportunity to be productive in in 2024 as freshmen and down the line for CFF and maybe even some guys with NFL potential. So if you missed that, go check it out. This week, we're going to be talking about our top 10. So these are our initial top 10s. We've got a lot of film that's been watched. We have, a lot of guys that have been graded now. And at this point, we feel comfortable saying this is our initial top 10. Don't really foresee anybody necessarily. The top 10 may not change a whole lot. Like no random guy is going to come up into the top 10 because we've watched enough now. I think we feel good about it. So without further ado, our initial top 10 quarterbacks, running backs, receivers, and tight ends in the 2024 class. This is the official. All right, boys, welcome in. How's everyone doing tonight?
Good, man.
All right. Well, it's been, we kind of had a week off. We recorded 2 in a row, and so I haven't seen you guys in a little bit. So nice to see your faces. And we are gonna go. We went from the lowest, the sleepers, the guys who aren't being recognized, to we're gonna go kind of top end now. We're gonna go top 10 of our positions: quarterback, running back, receiver, tight end. And before we get started, just wanted to shout out again to Home Field Apparel. I know it's been a few weeks since I wore their stuff. I do have my Appalachian State University shirt on this week. Really basic, just says Appalachian State University, but holds a special place in my heart. I spent a lot of time in Boone growing up, which is where that school is, and they're one of the best G5s that have been around for quite a while. And if you remember the incredible upset of Michigan back in the day, first game of the season, that was one of the all-time greatest upsets, Armonte Edwards for Heisman. So, go to homefieldapparel.com, check them out. And if you decide to purchase something, if you're a first-time buyer, go ahead and enter Campus2Canton as your promo code. You can get 15% off your first purchase and just get a ton of stuff. They have like hundreds of schools, from University of Florida to Appalachian State G5 to St. Peter's, kind of a lower level Division I basketball school. And really every Colorado School of Mines. I mean, just like all sorts of schools, big and small, all with a little vintage retro look, all very, very comfortable shirts, pants, hats. I think they've hoodies. They've added a bunch of stuff. So that's Home Field Apparel. And then obviously campus2canton.com. Go check out our parent website where all our information is stored. We have all sorts of tools, rankings, articles, other kind of advice. And get involved in our community for the low starting price of $2.99 a month. And it goes up from there for all other bells and whistles. So without further ado, Matt and David, let's start talking about some players. And we are going to start with quarterbacks. So one guy does kind of stand above the rest. That's Dylan Raiola. You've got, these are our rankings, composite, and then me, David, and Matt. 2 of the 3 of us have Raiola as 1. David has Raiola as 2. I think worth talking about. Okay, so Raiola is 2 for you, David. Go ahead and lead off the discussion with you've interchanged them now after Elite 11, huh? That's big.
Yeah, I mean, you can see how close it is for me. We're splitting hairs here. I don't know. Essentially, it was just like Sayan did win the Elite 11. Does that mean a whole lot? Not really. But then he went over to the OT7 and kind of just dominated that too. And I just think that he's a little more free flowing with his passing. I think Raiola, apparently he just started playing quarterback as a freshman, and you can kind of see it a little bit. He's a little more of a thrower rather than a passer at this point. Still, I think he will progress, and he could easily pass him right back up. But just what I've seen from Sayan this summer, I'm going to give him a little bit of a bump up because, accuracy and stuff like that.
I think that's fair. I think it's an interesting conversation now with how good of a summer Sayan has had. I still think there's a pretty big gap. And the other thing with Raiola is, I think for our purposes, a little bit, there's no junior tape on him really. I'm still looking at sophomore stuff. Obviously, we looked at the Elite 11, but I kind of want to get a little further body of work with him. So it's interesting. He's still my number one. David, he's still your number one, or Matt, he's still your number one. I see Trevor Jackson, Matt, for you is 5th. That's pretty impressive. I probably need to reevaluate him a little bit. I don't think I've gone back and looked at the tape, and maybe there's some Elite 11 clips I can take a look at too. But can you give us a little bit about? I mean, we know you like him, but for anyone who maybe it's their first show, that's pretty high ranking for a guy who's a 3-star like a month ago.
Yeah, and he's still slowly rising. He just got Oklahoma offer yesterday or 2 days ago, which is nice to see him gain another big time offer. Really, it's an upside bet. There's the core 4 guys that I really like in the class. I've talked over and over again about Raiola, Sayin, Noland, and Lagway. Then after that, I think it's kind of a pick your guy at that point. And to me, Jackson just has such high upside. I mean, he's got the best arm in the class according to Breakaway Days ball scores. He performed generally very well at Elite 11. Minus 1 or 2 events where he didn't do as well, but still had very, very high moments. Good athlete too, good rushing upside. I think over 500-yard rusher last year, I believe. I really just want him to see him put it all together on tape for his senior year. His junior tape was okay, but didn't really flash as this crazy high-end guy. So that's what I really want to see. I want him to translate all this off-season hype onto the tape this year.
Okay, all right, that sounds good. And then let's just move really quick to a couple of guys who we're going to talk about, individually again. I'll start it off with Michael Van Buren. We do have some clips for some of these guys, but Van Buren, 6th for me right now, low tier 2 rating with a 72 score. And I just think he's like a solid looking player. He's going to Oregon, which is a fine caliber of school with pedigree, but he's definitely got some twitch. He's definitely got some ability to run the ball. And then I think he's got a nice quick motion. I think he's got a pretty strong arm. And in a weak quarterback class, there's just not a lot of guys that wow me. And I just like what I've seen from Van Buren. It's not that I'm enamored with him. It's just more like there's not a lot of guys jockeying for some of these higher ratings for me. So he kind of just settles in there. I mean, the 72 as the QB6 in the class feels a little low. I mean, and Walker White gets 68. He's number 6 for David. So I think these scores are a little low in general. Moving back over to David Haney, we have a clip for him. We've talked about him a lot, but briefly, 30 seconds, talk a little more about Haney. And he is I know he's in your top 10, QB9 for you.
Yeah, he's after the top 4 or 5 guys, it's just like pick your guy that you think is going to be a fun college producer at that point. He kind of gives you like Trace McSorley vibes. I don't know, that might bum some people out, but like Trace McSorley had like 2.
He was a 4-year starter.
Yeah, he had like 2 top 15, top 20 college fantasy football seasons. So it's like you're hoping to squeeze something out like that. And he runs in the 4.4s and he's got a pretty strong arm, so he's fun.
Yeah, no, I think he's pretty cool. That tape obviously was nice to show everyone. It looked good there. And then Matt, Colin Hurley, youngest player in the class or second youngest, something like that. And you continue to like him. He's up to QB7 for you.
Yeah, I actually dropped him down a spot or 2 after the Elite 11. I've talked about him a bunch at this point. Youngest player in the class. I like his arm. I like his upside. Going to LSU, they're not recruiting heavy in the 25 quarterback class, which gives me the feeling that they think they found their guy. I think he could be a 3-year starter there. He'll probably have to wait a year, but maybe we'll see. And yeah, it's really just another guy upside bet that I'm just willing to take at this point. I think he has better upside than a lot of these guys in this class.
All right, I think that's fair. I mean, we always love those young for their class guys. There's the upside is untapped. All right, let's just keep the momentum going here with running backs. And let me get up our running back list. Okay, so here are top 10 running backs composite. We had gone through the quarterbacks so much, I didn't necessarily want to give them name by name, but I think for running backs at least, let's do name by name. So we've got Cameron Davis, number one composite for us, Nathaniel Frazier, Kedron Young, Kevin Riley, Jordan Marshall, Johan Cardenas, Quinton Martin, Taylor Tatum, Frankie Arthur, Jason Brown. And I will say I'm the tanker on Taylor Tatum. He should probably be higher. I need to revisit his tape. I just wasn't that impressed, but you guys both think he's pretty good, and the services think he's pretty darn good. I probably need to figure out why I'm so wrong on him. He just did not impress me much at all. So I'll call myself out on Taylor Tatum there. Yeah, I mean, I guess, David, why don't you go first? You got Nathaniel Frazier. This just tells you how weird this class is, right? So Nathaniel Frazier is your number one. He was significantly outplayed by a younger player on his own high school team. Granted, that guy's good, but you still have him as your best running back. I think he's very exciting on tape. What do you like? And are you worried about this whole fact that he, not only split time, but was basically the RB2 on his own team to a younger player last year?
Yeah, it's concerning for sure. Like, that's not ideal, but it's at Matter Day, and I think he's got some of the highest physical upside in this class. And it seems like he's taken another physical leap during the spring and summertime. Like, he's put up some pretty good track numbers. I think we got him at 21.6 miles per hour. He's already pushing 210. He's got to put up better tape. Other guys could pass him. This could be an aggressive grade at this point, but I baked in some projection.
Yeah, and you're right. The physical development. I mean, I think on 3 has him at 205, and 24/7 might have him even higher than that, 210 or something. So yeah, he's put on quite a bit of weight. Looks good. He looks super twitchy and really electric. I like him a lot. I think he's my 3, so I'm still pretty excited about him. But it's just a weird story with the whole didn't command a workload, so kind of bizarre. Matt, Cam Davis, number 1. I struggled with Cam Davis. I mean, he's number 7 for me. I've taken him high in our mocks before. What makes you comfortable putting him at number 1? He does a lot of wildcat. It's kind of hard to see him, set up vision. It's just his tape is so limited on the running. He does actually throw the ball in high school and stuff. I mean, there's actual legitimate quarterback tape. And it's just different than lining up as a deep tailback. So what makes you feel pretty good about saying he's still the number 1 guy for you?
Yeah, so I think he probably has the safest and most complete profile of all the backs in the class. He is, a good athlete, good receiver, super well built, moves well laterally, going to a very good system that, he could get reps in very early on in Florida State. So I think all that combined makes him solidly my top guy in the class. And I've comped him to us before, but I think he reminds me a lot of like a DeAndre Swift type. So I'm not super high on the ceiling. A weak RB class, in my opinion. I have these guys graded the lowest out of all of us here. So I'm not in love with him per se as just a general prospect, but in this class he is my top guy. And I'm going to flip the question on you here now for David Ezio-Zume here. Yes. Ezio-Mume. He was RB3 on his team this year. Out of North Cobb behind Benjamin Hall and the other running back there. I can't recall his name. Hopefully stepping up this year. I do love the talent. Very, very bold grade, though. I mean, that's the grade I had on Baxter last year.
It is a very bold grade. I mean, no doubt. I was putting it together last night, and I was like, man, what? Because sometimes when I'm grading, I will just watch tape, watch it a few times, put in the numbers, and just whatever it is, it is. I don't try to, as I'm actually grading, I don't really try to, manipulate or say, oh, this is too high. I just try to watch the player, and whatever is I'm feeling that I'm seeing is what I put down. Now, I was compiling this list last night, and oftentimes I won't even look at a guy and be like, oh, he wound up this certain grade. We have a calculator in there, and it just spits it out. And I was like, damn, he's at 82, and he's higher than he's my RB1. What the heck? I mean, honestly, it surprised me. I went back and looked. I mean, it's just he seems to be a very complete back. Now, the fact that he didn't lead his own team as a junior is certainly something that we have concerns about. But he's a really, really good receiver. He lines up, as a legitimate receiver at times. I love the fact that he actually lines up kind of as a tight end sometimes. I mean, they just use him all over the field. And maybe that's why he didn't run the ball as much. I mean, he was playing multiple positions, but he seems very versatile. He seems fast enough. He's not a blazer. I have him down at a 4 for his speed. I think he hits 21, but he's not.
I think he hit a 10,800 meter this year track season, which is plenty good.
And yeah, we got him at 21.2 max MPH. He hits 21.2, so he's got the long speed. That's definitely good enough. I think he's not going to put together a ton of magic jukes or anything like that, but he is shifty. He can, kind of change his angle and disrupt the tackler's path to him. I just think he's a good, well-rounded player, and he came out really high. I mean, I can't explain. I guess a lot of the other guys don't impress me that much. There he is as a tight end, going out against coverage and making a play for a touchdown. So he's just a very interesting piece. And then, Clemson's a pretty good offense. It's a pretty good system, and it's a program that's historically put guys into the NFL. So it's high. I agree. But that's just what my numbers said. I looked at him. I didn't feel like I went crazy on any of the numbers. He just was complete. So there was nothing glaring, whereas some of these other guys, there seems to be stuff that kind of sticks out as a negative. For instance, Frazier, I think only had 4 receptions last year. So he did not show much receiving at all. I want to touch on Taylor Tatum. He didn't impress me. What do you guys like about him? I know David had him as his number 1 for a little while. But what do you guys like about him? And when I go back and look, because this is fluid, when I go back and look, what should I try to see what I'm missing? What do you guys think?
I think he's a safe play. So maybe that's what's holding you back. He's not, crazy traitsy, with a crazy upside or whatever, but he checked all the boxes. What do you want to talk about? Athletic score? He hits 21.2 miles an hour. He's pushing 200 pounds, I think. He's a good pass catcher. He even does pass blocking. I don't know. He just does everything I thought above average. So he ended up grading out well for me. I don't think he's amazing or anything. You can see he's tier 2. So it's he has a middle of tier 2 grade for me, but I think he'll be a starter and productive in college, and will get drafted at some point.
All right. Yeah. I mean, sounds good. I looking at my actual number grades. I think he lacked a little pass catching upside, and, his long speed is good, 21.6, but I just gave him lower on acceleration and burst. I didn't think he looked that, I guess, bursty or twitchy. So he lost some points there, dropping him out of my top 10. Matt, a guy I like a lot. He's I guess 8 for me. I guess he's higher for you, RB4. Tell us about Cardenas. I think it's a guy who's going to be universally a top guy for our company, Campus to Canton, by the time it's all said and done.
Yeah, I'll be a little honest here. I was surprised David did not have him in his top 10. We've been talking about him for months now as a guy we're going to be higher on. And he left me out here to dry with
He let us down. Yeah,
it's all right. It's all right. I'll be the one to ride for him here. He's my RB. What is it, 4 or 5 in the class at the moment? I'm not even the highest person on the C2C team on him right now, but we'll leave that for later. He's just a really well-rounded back, super productive. He has a very high-end athletic score. Not the best straight line speed, but he's very bursty. He has very high-end lifting numbers too, committed to Vanderbilt, which leaves him pretty wide open to start.
I think I missed that.
Yeah,
I think I missed
just,
that. That's great.
Just committed a few days ago, I think. So
Awesome.
Wide open running back. I know everyone's hyping up Cedric Alexander right now. I mean, enjoy him for a year before Cardenas is there, because I think it's his job once he gets on campus, and very underrated by his services right now.
And we love Vandy. Okay, and then David, walk us through your guy Lyle here, who is number 8 for you, Jordan Lyle. What do you like? and he's a top 10 running back.
I think it was his burst for the most part, like his athletic upside. He's 6 foot 190. I definitely think he's got a nice frame. I think he's going to get to 210. There's not a lot of running backs in this class where I'm like, oh, okay, like his burst definitely pops for me, and like this was one of them. And I'm just like, will he become the starter at Ohio State? I don't know. It's pretty hard to do that. You have to be really good, but whatever. You can just transfer somewhere else and be productive there.
Anybody else you want to highlight there, Matt or David, before we move on to receivers?
I mean, you're pretty low on two pretty big name guys in the class, Jordan Marshall and Quentin Martin. You kind of jumped over them for Taylor Tatum here.
Yeah, Quentin Martin I do like, but I think he lacks some receiving, and that may have bumped him a little bit down.
Martin?
Oh no, he lines up as receiver.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'd have to go look at my specific numbers with Martin. Jordan Marshall, but I guess I didn't love. Let's see. I gave him some down remarks in footwork, change of direction. I guess I felt like he was a little straight line, maybe. I have to check the tape again. But yeah, he was a little low for me.
That's fair. I'll just say one of the safest players in this class, in my opinion. Going to Michigan, I think he easily jumps Cabana and Benjamin Hall. He just ran a 10.700 meter, which I think is a lot better than most people would expect, because he doesn't look crazy fast on tape. And I agree, he's not the most shifty, but production profile is crazy. He is a 98th percentile score in our model. So I think the combination of all-around ability, going to Michigan with the production profile is a very good matchup.
Yeah, and it'll continue to be a committee backfield at Michigan, I'm sure. So he can, it can be him and Tatum probably, and both be productive and both get drafted potentially. So I wouldn't even have a worry there. All these running back rooms are moving that direction. All right, so moving on to wide receivers then. Here's our top 10. We've got Micah Hudson, Mylan Graham, no surprise there. Cam Coleman at 3. Bryant Wesco, Draylon Miller, Jeremiah Smith, Mike Matthews, Perry Thompson, Aaron Butler, Terrence Moore. I feel like in our composite, the top 8 is not super surprising. And then Aaron Butler, Terrence Moore might be surprising to some. Matt, Micah Hudson, 85. How high is that for you? You said that he would have been your number 1 receiver last year. Is that the highest grade you've ever given a player since we've been doing this?
Yeah, easily. Not even close. I think last year's highest grade was Branch with like a .835. So I have 3 wide receivers above him this year. I just love the high-end talent at the top there this year that much. And we've talked about Hudson a ton. He's going to be our consensus wide receiver 1 for the most part here at Campus Canton. Incredibly refined receiver, just do-it-all player. Dominant ball skills, dominant after the catch. Probably going to Texas Tech at this point, which he can be a very easy CFF monster starting year 1 there.
Year 1.
So I think is just perfect C2C player.
Yeah, that's a great point about year 1. I mean, going to Texas Tech. I don't love that pedigree for potential NFL, but it's not out of the question that he could still be fine there. Let's see, David. Who should we have? Nothing too surprising here. I guess let's move straight to Xavier Jordan. I feel like your list is not shocking, but you do have a surprising guy, I think, in your top 10, Xavier Jordan. Can you tell us about him?
So I think he's one of the most fluid receivers in this class. He's got crazy body control. One of the better route runners, I thought. Already, like, his knock is like he doesn't have very good verifiable athleticism. He plays. Like, he's got good agility and stuff. He plays with really good pace in his routes. He just, I don't know. He just knows how to get open. He was like the runner-up MVP at OT7, Western Regional. So it's just, he's having a good summer. I think he's trending upwards. He's transferring up to Sierra Canyon, which is like a big step up in competition. So I'm going to have a better idea how good he is, if his production stands out. And he'll be teammates with Quasi Gilmer, committed to UCLA. So it's just like, I need him to outproduce him to justify this ranking. If not, then, he might slide down. But from what I've seen, I like his film.
All right. That's totally fair. Can I ask you guys, what am I seeing in Draylon Miller that's too high? I do love how he just wins in so many phases and really good special teams player. And he's big. He's like 6'2", pushing 200, if I remember correctly. So he's a big guy. Just don't see that package in a really big, well-rounded, filled-out frame already.
So first is, that came to light recently to me was his hands are a bit inconsistent at times. Generally good ball skills, so he can go up and get it, but just random concentration drops can be an issue. He's not overly refined. I do like his releases off the line, but he's not running a ton of breaking routes. A lot of screens for sure. And his verified athletic testing is not great. I believe he's in the 40th percentile range, which I think is what's really keeping the services off of him at the moment. But they don't really. He's in my top 10. But I'm not out on him by any means because of it. But you'd like to see a tiny bit better. And then him going to Texas A&M, where I think Cam Coleman is clearly the guy ahead of him. It's going to be difficult to project him to be a super producing CFF player. So you really have to be all in on the NFL upside there.
I think that those are some good points. I think for me, at least at this point, receiver is probably the list for me that could still have a lot of variability by the time we're done with it. Probably for everyone, just because there's so many receivers, and that's a position where I don't really mind putting a 3-star guy really high, because I feel like there is so much variation in the receiving, who pops year one and early production, all that kind of stuff, which matters. So I think my top 10 could look pretty different 2 months from now. But I guess, Matt, we'll go back to you. Talk about your number 10 guy, Tyson Denmark, and then I'll talk about one guy I've got higher than everyone else as well.
Yeah, so he is committed to Penn State, about 6 foot 190. He's outside most of their services top 30 wide receivers, but I'm just totally sold on him at this point. I think he has a really well-rounded game. He's going to separate no problem. He's extremely refined for this stage. Deadly after the catch, as you can see in these clips. I mean, his lateral movement is fantastic. He shakes people very, very easily. I would say his ball skills are maybe a little bit average, but definitely not bad. He's good. He goes to the same high school that Marvin Harrison did, same head coach, and he said Tyson is the most complete wide receiver he has had, which obviously coach hyping up his guy, but I think considering who he has had, I think it means a lot. And Brian Hartline and Ohio State were going after him hard at the beginning of the process. I think he probably turned them away just because of the amount of guys they've been getting in. But Hartline did compare him to Emeka Egbuka, which I think is another very high praise from another guy who knows what he's talking about. So I think there's just a ton to like with him. And I think he's pretty underrated at the moment, especially going to a Penn State wide receiver room that's not bursting with talent. He could step into slot year one and produce, I think.
Yeah, all right. That sounds good. I'll move on to Iron Bubba Hampton. And, David said this a little while ago on a show that he's just my kind of player. He does have that defensive ability, a lot of start-stop, a lot of body control that you can see when he plays D-back. And then, as a yak guy after the catch, I mean, he is really impressive. The start-stop, lateral movement, creativity after the catch is all very, very good for me. He's big enough. He's got special teams. He's just, I definitely have a type when it comes to receiver, and he does all the things that I like. And so I don't think he's committed yet.
Just committed this week, and that's something I wanted to bring up because
was it Bama or Texas?
Recommitted to Texas. Texas offered him both ways though. And it sounds like he prefers to play defense. So he might. All right. Well, nothing is confirmed though. He was offered to play both ways, but I believe I don't remember the exact quote, but he was quoted saying something like, "I love defense, but they did offer me both ways." Something along those lines.
That's very interesting. Obviously, I just said my receivers are probably going to have a big shakeup. So case in point
not set in stone. It could change, but that's just.
I think he's a really exciting player, but maybe he's used in packages on offense, but primarily a corner or something like that. So we'll have to read the tea leaves. We still got a little while before he's on campus and all that. All right, so then we should also talk about Jeremiah Smith. Is he the best prospect since Julio Jones? We are reading that on message boards. We are seeing that in some 24/7 articles. Probably not if he's not even your number one guy, but he's very highly rated. And do you think he'll disappoint, or are we pretty confident in Jeremiah Smith going to Ohio State and being the next great receiver there?
I'm pretty confident in being good. I don't know. It's a very crowded room. I'm not going to say he's going to go step on campus year one and boot all these guys out of their jobs, but I'm pretty confident he's going to be pretty good in the NFL.
I mean, that's all we really look forward to. David, what do you love about him? Tier 1 rankings, pretty high.
His acceleration surprised me. I think Real Analytics posted something about him hitting like 20.9 miles per hour, and like, I don't know, you could just see he just popped. It was something I didn't notice initially. I have bad eyes in general. I don't know what I'm watching sometimes. But when they presented that to me, I'm like, okay, this guy, he definitely has bursts for like this big guy. And I just think all these outlets have seen him in person. They've been hyping him up so much. It's just like, they're not idiots. Like you know what I mean? Like, he's obviously good, I think. There's not really much else to say. Like, he's a really good, in Matt's charting, he was a really good separator as well. And for a big guy that can separate, that's definitely good. He's not like I don't know if he's like a special athlete. That's why I pushed back initially on like the Julio Jones stuff, because like I don't see him running like 4.3s or whatever, but he's fast enough to be good. So I think he's safely tier 1 for me.
All right. I think he's outside my top. Yeah, I didn't give him a great grade. I need to relook at that and see about the separation and some other things. I wasn't tremendously impressed right off the bat. So, all right, let's move on to tight ends then. And here are our top 10 tight ends: Jaden Riddell, Caleb Odom, Landon Thomas. That should not be a shock to many people. Michael Smith, Christian Bendiker, Brady Priestcorn, Devy Mitchell, Carter Nelson, Trades Green, and Walter Matthews round out our top 10 from a consensus point of view, composite point of view. Let's see. So Caleb Odom for me and David, and Caleb Odom probably maybe the most consistent guy for us. And what did you guys see? He goes to the same high school as Uber. I believe it's the same high school as Uber quarterback in the 2026 class who just finished his freshman year, Julian Lewis. And so he had a great quarterback to play with even as a freshman. But I thought he was a great route runner, just a really good athlete, and also played, had a little bit of that edge I want to see in a tight end prospect. Anything you guys want to add? What did you like? I mean, consistently our top 3 for all of us.
I think he's fluid and he moves well. He's athletic basketball player. Really big frame, so I'm not worried about his size or whatever. He's like 6'6", 215. He'll get to 245 plus. So yeah, he's. If there was more blocking on his tape or whatever, like that's the thing hurting his score for me. Like he would be knocking on tier 1's door, but high tier 2.
Yeah, I mean blocking was tough for a lot of these top guys. I mean, I don't even know. I don't know if they're just not like putting it on the highlight tape at all, or they're not doing it. I mean, a lot of these top guys in the 24/7, they're all basically playing wide receiver in high school.
Yeah, Odom especially. I just charted him. He played exclusively X. He didn't. No way.
Yeah. So I stopped worrying so much about blocking when I was grading these guys. I mean, we talked a lot last year. There's just not a lot going on with the blocking. I mean, with any of these guys. Let's see. So Riddell is consensus number 1. Of course, I have to be the weirdo who didn't like Riddell compared to the group, and I'm trying to see where did I give him bad. I guess I gave him bad depth chart. He's going to Georgia, and so he got a low rank on depth chart just because they have so many tight ends. But that really shouldn't drop him too much, and maybe I should change that. Otherwise, he had similar ranking. I think that probably dropped him, honestly, was like depth chart compared to the other guys who I thought maybe had a little bit better opportunity right away. But he's very good. Let's see. Who else should we talk about? Anybody you guys want to call out?
Yeah, I'll call out Devon Mitchell here. I think someone that's worth bringing up. Just reclassified to 2024 from the 25 class. Committed to Oklahoma simultaneously. And I think he just checks every box, really, that you're looking for. I mean, he's a pretty refined receiver at this stage. He plays in line. He blocks. He's good after the catch. very good athlete. There's a nice video of him dunking over 2 people that I showed David. I forgot to send it to our other channel. I just think it's just the complete package there of just everything. I mean, he has all the tools. He can block. He can receive. Good after the catch. Like I don't know what else you could really want out of a high-end tight end prospect.
Yeah.
All right.
Can I just touch on 2 guys quick?
Go for it.
Well, full disclosure, I've watched a lot of these guys in passing or whatever, but I just like kind of binge graded all these guys real quick. But
I did too, I'll be honest.
yeah, I kind of know I'm familiar with a lot of these guys, but like I hadn't actually watched Michael Smith, and I'm like, well, this guy actually pops pretty hard for me. I'm like,
yeah, he's good.
I don't know, he had some crazy catches on there, like his body control. He had some crazy diving catches. I think he even was doing some special teams returning and stuff. So. His movement looked pretty good to me, and he looked explosive, and he's already like 6'4", 245. So he checked a lot of boxes for me. And then the one guy that I have, he's like a summer riser, Luke Reynolds. He tested real well. He played alongside Drew Hall, who was actually on our freaks list last year. But yeah, really good lateral mover. But he tested, like, I think he ran 4.58. He had a 38-inch vertical at one of the UC camps. We adjust those, but it's still a good vertical, 33 plus. But I thought it was a good mover. The only thing with like I like all these Penn State tight ends. Like I liked both their tight ends in the last class, so it's like he's gonna have to wait his turn. Which you just have to be patient with him, but I do think he has an NFL upside, so I guess I'm just gonna. It's like a stat. I just have to wait for it and stash him. But
yeah, I liked some of the things I saw. I felt like, I mean, you saw in that clip there, a lot of quarterback play. Kind of hard to evaluate what the heck's going on as a tight end. I mean, I would imagine Penn State can put him on a regimen, and he will learn the position by the time it's all said and done. It was an incomplete grade for me at this point. I just didn't really know what to do. With Reynolds, although I heard the same stuff that you did, I'm sure, about the Elite 11 and all the stuff that he was doing and making a lot of noise over the summer. Agree completely with Michael Smith. He came out of nowhere. He's my tight end 6. I see he's 4 for David and he's 7 for Matt. So I think we all really like him. But yeah, he was really impressive, I thought. Matt, tell us about Walter. I guess it's Walter Matthews, a absolutely massive tight end prospect out of the state of Georgia.
Yeah, so you guys are over here talking about how you want these blockers, and not ranked by David, and very low grade by Alfred. I was very disappointed to see that. I mean, at 260, he's hitting over 20 miles per hour here on this play. He can play in line. He can block. Pretty well coordinated. He's going to make a nice diving catch here. Not the most fluid on the field. I mean, when you guys watch his basketball, though, I think you'll be a bit more impressed. He has some really nice dunks. Moves really well on the court at 260. And I'm hoping to see it translate a little bit more on the field because he does look, he doesn't look super quick twitch there. But it looked a little bit better on the court. So I'm hoping to see it translate a bit more.
I think that was my problem, exactly what you said. I just was like, man, he looks like he's running in mud, even though the top speed was there. He reminds me a little of, was it Dwayne Darnell Washington, who just graduated from Georgia or who just went to the NFL?
Yeah.
I thought he kind of was a kind of that type of prospect, which isn't terrible, but...
I mean, that's a pretty good prospect if you guys squeeze it.
Yeah, you're right. Pretty good prospect there. He's still top 10, but yeah, the score is low, and he just got tanked on acceleration and body and change of direction, anything like that related to quickness or whatever. All right, so I texted you guys last night. I said I found my Rappleyea for the year. Because at the time that I liked Rappleyea, I didn't know you guys liked him last year, and then I think he was a riser in general, but this is Gavin Hoffman, who's committed to Iowa. So that immediately grabbed my attention because Iowa is a tight end factory, even though it's not a good offensive program in general. But He just seemed to show a lot of stuff that I'm looking for. I mean, he's one of these guys that loves football. It looks like he loves football. I mean, tenacious blocker. He gets after it, but he also is a good athlete, and I believe hits over 20 miles per hour. I think no problem with his top speed. He's already big. He's going to Iowa. That highlight clip didn't really show, but he's a pretty refined route runner already, and just good frame. Kind of had a lot of the building blocks that I would like to see in a tight end prospect. And so he's my tight end 3 right now. Also, going to Iowa just doesn't hurt, man. I mean, they're just like, at some point you got to say that is a track to the NFL if you're even kind of good. So I had no problem kind of giving that a little bit of an Iowa bump because I like the tape anyway. But yeah, so he's way up there for me. He might be my Rapplier this year, just, that tenacious blocker who also can be a dynamic weapon. And I think that covers it. Anybody else we want to highlight in the tight ends?
I think I'm good.
Okay.
It's a very, very good tight end class this year. I have way more high-end grades on this year's class.
It is a better tight end class. I mean, it's tight ends and tight ends and receivers. If you are looking at your C2C team and you want an injection of quarterbacks and running backs, maybe trade back into 2025 because 2024 just doesn't really have it unless you have the 101 and you want to go Rayola or Sayan. Maybe you have the 102, whatever. But other than that, leaves a lot to be desired. But tight ends, receivers aplenty for sure. All right, gentlemen, thank you so much. It was a pleasure. And we'll do it again next week. This has been The Official.